So does any of you have any idea what that is right there?
A cross. They just said cross, sorry.
It's a doctor symbol.
A doctor's symbol?
Doctor symbols are
What color is it?
red. Red.
Okay. Well, today we're going to be learning about an angel of the battlefield. Does anybody know who the angel of the battlefield is?
No.
Well, she looks just like this. This is what her picture is. Her name is Clara. When I'm going to read you a story about Clara. If you want, you can help me. What I mean by that is during this story, there's things that happen, actions, and there's like a horse. And the horse, when it's galloping, you can make noise. Are you on the floor? You can make noise. So that would be helpful to me if you can do that. You ready?
Okay.
Give me a thumbs up if you're ready. Oh, I see. Okay. Hang on tight to the mane. Clara heard her brother call as he galloped bareback across the field. Okay, Scoby, I heard Scobies.
Make a gallop.
Clara was only 5 years old, but already her brothers and sisters had taught her to do more than 5-year-olds did, especially in 1826. She was the baby of the family, and she loved to learn to read, spell, and do arithmetic. Clara lived with her family on a farm in North Oxford, Massachusetts. Every Sunday, Clara's family drove 5 miles in a horse and carriage to the Universalist church. A horse and carriage. Hear those clip clops? Just like when we go to church, they took a horse and carriage to church. Clara's father had helped build that church. Clara never forgot the Universalist teachings she learned there. She learned that God is love and that all lives are precious gifts that should not be destroyed. When her family was not with her, Clara was very shy. This worried her parents, so they sent her away to school when she was 9 years old. They hoped she would make friends and forget to be shy, but Clara was homesick and she wanted to come home. When Clara was 11, her brother David fell from the top of the new barn and was badly hurt. The doctor said he might die. Please, begged Clara, let me be David's nurse. I'll take very good care of him. His parents and the doctor agreed to let Clara try, so she stopped going to school. Clara stayed with David day and night. She fed him, gave him medicine, and changed his bed. This was the first job as a nurse, and she did it cheerfully every day for 2 years. When she was 17, Clara took her first job outside of home. She taught a class of 40 kids from 4 years old to 13 years old, all in one room. That's what they call a one-room school. Clara heard that some of the boys liked to make trouble for the teachers, so on the first day at recess, she offered to play baseball with them. They were surprised to see that she could throw a ball just as hard as they could and run just as fast. The boys felt a deep respect for their new teacher, and Clara never had to spank or hit their students with a ruler the way the teachers did in those days. They used rulers even in my day, I can tell you that. few years later, a friend in Bordertown, New Jersey asked Clara to start a public school. Some people there didn't like the idea of public schools that were free, but that didn't scare Clara away. Just made her feel even more sure that she wanted to start a public school. She offered to open a school for participants of all ages and teach without any pay for 3 months. The school board agreed to give her an old building. On the first day, only 6 students came to class. Just 6. School board were surprised, but Clara was so popular and such a good teacher that soon there were 600 participating coming. The town built a new 8-room schoolhouse. 8 rooms. Clara wanted to be the principal of the new school, but in those days, nobody wanted to hire a woman to do that job. Instead, the townspeople asked Clara to be the female assistant. Her pay would only be half that of the amount the town would pay a man to be principal. Clara felt this was unfair, so she gave up teaching and she moved to Washington, D.C. to find a new career. She's moving again. She's moving to Washington, D.C., which is the capital of our nation. Clara was living and working in Washington when the Civil War broke out. She saw that the soldiers who were coming home from the war were hungry and they needed clothes and bandages for their wounds. The government was not able to help so many soldiers. Clara saw what they needed, and so she used her money to buy food and clothes. She wrote to the newspapers and asked them to tell people what the soldiers needed. The people gave blankets, medicines, and other supplies. And I think that you got there was a picture provided for you to do coloring if you wanted to do that of Clara taking care of soldiers. Then news came from the battlefield that medicine and food did not get to the soldiers. Wounded soldiers fell to the ground and lay there without food or water. Many died of thirst or cold because there was no one to take care of them in the army hospitals. There were no women nurses to help them. In those days, people thought women were not strong enough to take care of soldiers or be near a war. Seeing women on the firing line shocked the soldiers. But Clara knew she must do exactly what most people thought no woman could do. At first, the army laughed at the idea, but Clara kept right on asking till she got permission to go to the front lines of the battle. With a wagon full of supplies pulled by 4 mules, she came to the battlefield in Virginia at midnight. Yeah. The army doctor who was in charge was very tired. He had completely run out of supplies. Clara went to work cooking and took care of the wounded right away. She even learned to take bullets out of wounded soldiers with a penknife. Later, the army surgeon wrote, "If heaven ever sent out a holy angel, she must be the one." And after that, Clara was known as the Angel of the Battlefield. For 14 battles, Clara brought supplies and took care of wounded soldiers from both sides, Confederate and the Union. She nursed anybody who needed help because she believed what she learned in her Universalist church when she was a child, that every life is precious. She said, "I have no enemies." Once she was kneeling beside an injured man giving him water when a bullet tore through her sleeve of her dress. It hit the man and killed him instantly. Another time, she barely escaped from a battle by jumping on a horse and then leaping from the horse onto a moving train. Can you imagine? When the war ended, 80,000 men were missing from the Union armies. Every day, Clara would hear from women and children who wanted to help to find their loved ones. President Abraham Lincoln asked Clara to come to the White House to help him work on his problem. 2 weeks later, President Lincoln was shot and killed. Clara was working by herself again. With no money President Lincoln gave her, with money President Lincoln gave her and some of her own money, Clara set up an office. She asked prisoners and others who had been in the war about what happened to the missing people. She wrote down what they told her and kept the information to help finding the missing soldiers. Soon money ran out and Clara needed to raise more. There wasn't TV or radio in those days. They didn't have that. People would buy tickets to hear speeches about what was happening in the country. Clara gave lectures about what was happening in the war, during the war. It was hard for Clara to speak in front of hundreds of people. She was still shy. I would rather stand on the battlefield than speak at a public meeting, she once said. But large crowds came to her wherever she went, and she was able to make money to keep her office going. After 2 years of public speaking, she lost her voice and had to quit. Clara's doctor suggested she go to Europe to rest. In Geneva, Switzerland, Clara learned about a new organization called the International Red Cross. This organization was started to help soldiers in battle no matter what side they're on. Clara went to the United States and talked to the American lawmakers and asked them to join this organization. She wanted them to sign the Geneva Treaty. This treaty was a promise to make all countries who signed it that during the war, doctors and nurses could take care of the sick and wounded soldiers no matter what country they were from. It wasn't easy, but she finally convinced the lawmakers, and in 1882, the United States became a member of the International Association of the Red Cross. But Clara didn't stop there. Why should the Red Cross only keep people during war, help people during wars? Why not use the Red Cross to help people in all kinds of disasters, like forest fires, floods, earthquakes? She explained to other countries many foreign leaders gave her medals for her work. Clara was president of the American Red Cross for 23 years and a Red Cross worker until she was 83. That's almost Scobie's age. Wow. The next time you take a Red Cross swimming lesson or learn Red Cross first aid and read about the Red Cross coming to the rescue in a disaster, remember Clara. She was a shy but very brave young Universalist girl who grew up to start the American Red Cross.